everyone. Welcome to Special Interests with Bob and Donna Durasmo and Bob Banfelder. We have a special treat for you today. As you can see, Bob is wearing his Holland America Test Kitchen apron that we received from friends of ours, our world traveler friends. That was so kind of them. Just to let you know who we are, I am a retired educator with the New York City Board of Education. I taught for 32 years. Great kids. Miss those kids.
You don't miss the traveling, though.
No, I don't miss the traveling. That's a whole other story. Maybe we'll do a YouTube one on that one, right? But Bob Banfelder is an award-winning outdoors writer and crime thriller novelist. He is a member of the New York State Outdoor Writers Association, the Outdoor Writers Association of America, and we belong to the Trumansburg Fish and Game Club, and Bob is a member of the Newfield Rod and Gun Club in central New York. A beautiful spot, great people, fun times when we get a chance to vacation at our son's place.
And as we mentioned last time, tell the folks where we are currently.
We are currently on the Peconic River in Riverhead, eastern Long Island, New York, very close to the best fishing spot in the world, Montauk, right?
Right.
Okay.
It's on the other shore.
It's on the other shore, but we're right at the spearhead, so we have the
Riverhead
North Fork,
spearheads the North and South Fork.
North Fork and the South Fork, so we're very lucky to be in this area. Although it's rather cold today, and I'm not a fan of the cold.
But no complaints. We're at the end of January, and we're into
the 40s, not bad.
30s. Not bad.
Not bad.
It's been a mild winter so far.
Okay.
But we've got to get through February.
Yes. Okay, so what Bob is going to be doing today, he is working on a new crime thriller novel, and in this novel there's a lot of cooking. So in our last segment he read a little bit of his work, and he's going to do the same today.
Why am I doing that? For background
information
of the dishes.
Of the dishes that he's going to be doing, and he's going to be making a classic lasagna. So we're going to go through all of that, and trust me that the food is delicious. So I'm glad he's writing this book, because I get to eat all this delicious food. So I'm going to leave it to Bob, and he will do a little bit of reading, and then we'll go into the kitchen and start, yes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely.
You're on.
Okay. Well, as Donna mentioned, she has said a classic lasagna. When we think of classic lasagna, we think Italian. Well, we're going to combine French/Italian in this lasagna dish, because instead of using the traditional ricotta cheese, we're going to be using bechamel. So Donna's going to put a link underneath, and you'll refer back to our other show, which will save a lot of time in explaining how to make a mirepoix sauce a mirepoix stock / brown sauce. And well, I think we'll take it from there. Again, I'm going to be reading here. I'm really like on chapter 8. I read chapter 1 in that other segment. Actually, that was the first one we did on the Chateaubriand, wasn't it? Or was it in the...
No, I think it was the mirepoix.
Okay, so you'll direct them
I don't
to
know. I can't remember, but I'll in the description below, the links will be there.
And again, why I'm doing this is not to promote a book isn't written. It's starting in manuscript form. This is I'm up to chapter 8. And you'll see why I'm doing this. It'll explain a lot of the, a bit of the history between this French-Italian dish that we'll be doing.
Lasagna.
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 Okay, so I'm going to skip down 1, 2, 3, 4 four paragraphs and get into the meat, if you will. What we are going to have tonight, Veronica, will be a combination classic Italian French lasagna that's made with a bechamel sauce instead of ricotta cheese, and a traditional Ragu Bolognese sauce instead of your ordinary red, which, by the way, your dad likes to call gravy. A French red sauce is known as one of your 5 mother sauces. Not your mother's sauce, Veronica, the man said and grinned. Veronica lifted her head and raised her eyebrows in surprise. He knows my dad, but how, she wondered. And our serial killer continues. The combination is outstanding, the man went on, but first a little bit of history. Ragu was created in the 18th century by a man named Alberto Alvisi, a cook to the Cardinal of Imola, a city southeast of Bologna, Italy. Imola is well known for its tile. In short order, Ragu Bolognese became known as the Cardinal's Ragu. Do you see how neatly everything fits together, Veronica? It's a line of his. He always says, and see how I tie these things in very neatly? Veronica nodded vigorously. So I'm going to skip. We're just going to pertain to what's foodie here and not belabor this. Skipping a few pages here, and this is just a page here, so you won't be bogged down too much, but I'd like you to know a little bit of the history, and it'll explain a lot what's going on when we step into the kitchen. So, are we ready to begin our sauces? You'll be attending to the bechamel, and I'll be working with the Bolognese sauce. I've already set out all the ingredients we'll need for both. The San Marzano tomatoes we get here in the United States from Italy are bogus. All kinds of games are played with labeling. Authentic San Marzano tomatoes are labeled, and you'll excuse my pronunciation here, Pomodoros S.Marzano Dell'Agro Sarnese-Nocerino. Nocerino. Thank you. I'm going to let you do the next pronunciation when we come there.
Oh, wait. Pomodoro, S.Marzano Dell'Agro, Sarnese-Nocerino.
It's called upstaging. It's called upstaging. See, you look for the labeling, for that labeling. The man held up the can. The D.O.P stands for
Denominazione di Origine Controllata.
Meaning the protected designation of origin. And this is real origin. This is absolutely true. When this killer goes on to say what he says there, what he's already said, the San Marzano tomatoes that we get here, 5% that comes into the United States is authentic. 95% is bogus. Fact. Okay, truly grown and packed in the
Valle di Sarno region of Italy.
That's the real deal.
The real deal.
See, Donna's half Italian, so maybe we got half of this right.
That's my Spanish. That's my Spanish that I know. Yeah, combine everything.
Okay. Next, we have equal amounts of ground beef, pork, and veal, aromatic vegetables of onions, carrots and celery, from which I already made a mirepoix / brown sauce well ahead of time. Takes hours to prepare, and we did this last time. That's why Donna's going to give you the link, and you'll see how it'll save us the time in there. Takes hours to prepare. It's a killer, Veronica. So most of the laborious work is already done. Let's see. Olive oil, butter and flour, whole milk, nutmeg, salt and pepper, lasagna noodles, of course. Forget about the no-boil kind. I like the kind with those curly, wavy edges. See? The man held up an open package. The cheeses generally used are regular mozzarella for layering and Parmesan for finishing off. However, I use Parmigiano Reggiano. Parmigiano Reggiano. In lieu of cheese, labeled just Parmesan. Parmesan is an imitation, did you know, and lacks flavor. But for a truly creamy mozzarella cheese, I prefer burrata. And that's spelled B-U-R-R-A-T-A. Being that you're half Italian, you probably know some of these things. Yes? Veronica nodded a yes. So I think we're good to go. You ready? Veronica nodded another yes. Good. What I'm going to do is unstrap you from the chair and have you go over to the stove. You'll start by melting a stick of butter in that saucepan over a very low flame, then mixing it in with twice the amount of flour, just a little bit at a time. The measurements of flour and butter actually go by weight, but our 2-to-1 ratio equals approximately the same. You'll keep stirring till there are no lumps, working from a rather pasty mix until it becomes nice and smooth and silky. The trick is not to burn the floury butter. We'll have a pot of warm milk standing by as a control. Then again, you'll have me close at hand looking over your shoulders, so not to worry. The bushy-haired man smiled broadly, sticking his meaty hands deep within the pockets of his beige cargo pants. And that's as far as we'll tell that.
Veronica's hands are going to be shaking, so she'll be very good
She'll
at
be
stirring.
very good at the mixing?
She'll be very good at stirring. Okay, folks, so I'm going to be behind the camera, and we're headed into the kitchen for lasagna.
Okay, so we have all our ingredients, and Donna, if you'll swing around with the camera here. We have all the ingredients on this counter here and over there that we'll be needing for both the bechamel sauce and the red sauce, the Bolognese sauce. But we'll only be doing step 1 initially, and take a break from that, and later on, perhaps tomorrow, be doing the bechamel sauce. And there's a reason why I do step 1 first, the red, and then moving to the bechamel. But let's look at all the ingredients that we'll need to deal with both sauces. Okay? This isn't necessarily necessary, but I just have it on hand in case I have to thin out something. Okay?
Chicken stock?
Chicken stock.
Chicken stock, okay.
Not collagen, and there's a reason why. That's a whole
that's
other
another
story.
That's another story.
Okay. Talking about thinning out, when we get to the bechamel, if you're doing it for the first or second time, you may want to have a pot of warm milk at the ready. Okay, and we'll be getting into that. But again, we're just going to be dealing with our red sauce. Okay, so let's look at what we'll be doing here. Here's some lasagna, and you'll note that I prefer the wavy kind, crinkly, wavy kind, as opposed to the flat sheets. And some recipes, some chefs do use the no-boil lasagna. And they talk about the absorption, that it doesn't absorb as much as the regular. But I'm just going to stick with this for a couple of tries. And then I'll try that. I'll try the no-boil another time. But I've had the no-boil, we've had the no-boil pasta in another dish, and we really weren't that surprised. It just wasn't the same thing. Instead of the regular mozzarella, we have the burrata, which is fresh mozzarella, cheese filled with shreds of mozzarella soaked in a cream. And boy, oh boy, is this
Delicious.
really wonderful. I got a price on here of, what is that, Donna?
$6.49.
$6.49.
Not cheap.
Not cheap. Nor is the Parmigiano Reggiano.
Reggiano, yeah.
It comes out to $18, $17.99 per pound. Not cheap. But there is a world of difference between Parmesan and Parmigiano Reggiano. So please keep that in mind. I turn this over. I just kept this tag here so I don't miss a beat. And you can see the color of the Italian flag. We have green, white, and red. Well, with our red sauce, it's going to be red, of course. With our white, it's going to be the bechamel. So I had this idea that I'm going to put some spinach. Why? Because it's green and it's going to give it a nice taste too. I thought I was really unique in that, but as I was going through many recipes, some fellow did incorporate spinach in his lasagna. Okay, you'll note that I have three-way meat from Best Market. It's I'm not going to say hard, but many stores don't have it this way. They tell you it's all mixed up. Your pork, your veal, your beef. I like to know that it's all separated, and I want to mix it up. So,
It's also called a meatloaf mix, I think.
yes,
Because people use it for their meatloaf.
it is. Meatloaf, beef, veal, pork. Okay. Let's see. We talked about butter, and this gives you a very good idea. 4 tablespoons. We have 8 in here for a stick. A stick represents 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 4 tablespoons equals a cup. Okay, so when this melts down, it'll make a cup. And again, remember, this goes by weight, this business. The flour, you'll use equal.
It'll make a half a cup.
It'll make a half a cup.
Half a cup.
So then we'll be using
1
a
cup of flour.
Of flour,
Yep.
right. Okay, so we talked about that. Shallots we'll be using. Onions, garlic, pepper and salt. Coarsely ground, I prefer. Some tomato paste. Some good virgin olive oil. And for the acidic bite of that tomato, a little sugar, just a pinch of sugar will take away that acidic taste. You don't use a lot, just a little bit. Let's go, and some nice Italian wine.
Red wine.
Forget red wine. Forget about cooking wine that you buy in the supermarket. If you're not going to drink it, then don't use it in cooking. You don't have to have top shelf, but have a nice red wine. on hand. And let's talk about these tomatoes and what the antagonist was saying about the San Marzano tomatoes, which happens to be so. Okay, they play around with the labeling. Now, let's go over here, Don. I'm going to have you pronounce this again. Unless the can says the big.
Denominazione di origine.
No.
The Pomodoro, San Marzano, Dell'Agro, Sarnese-Nocerino.
And Donald, you can put that up. I'd like you to put that
sure.
up. It's very, very hard to get. We went to, maybe we let our fingers do the walking after we got tired of walking into butcher shops and specialty shops. They didn't have it. Unless it has what Donna just read in its entirety on the can, and they have a code number here. Unless you see that name, it's not authentic. Now, some of you'll probably contact me and say, yeah, but look, they have a map on the back and it shows you the region in southern Italy here, Mount Vesuvius, and it's got two of the names in there. It's not the same. So I want the same. It's on order, like I told you. Our Donna threw up when we did the mirepoix. We had the China cap on order. We have the authentic tomatoes coming in, but this I understand is a decent peeled tomato. You don't want them crushed. You want them peeled whole. Some of they come fillets, they come whole, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we covered that. Over here, we have our onions that I'm going to mix in with the garlic. And I'm going to throw some shallot in there too. And let's take a look, Donna, how this sauce is doing here.
It smells wonderful.
Okay.
My favorite cuisine, Italian.
Okay. And most importantly, the mirepoix sauce that we talked about was already made, and you'll go over to the show that Donna's going to send you to.
Take it out.
No, I don't want to take it out. You can see that there's 3 cubes in here. I don't want to handle this right now. This is our Espanol sauce. It started with the mirepoix stock, and we made it into a brown sauce. And instead of spending hours now doing this is all done, I'll probably throw 2 cubes. And you'll see me do that later on, perhaps. Okay, so I mixed up the pork, veal, and beef thoroughly, so it's all blended together. And in this pan, I have the onions, I have the shallots, I have oil, butter, and what I'm going to do now, well, let's see. I missed a beat here. I purposely didn't put the garlic in while this was cooking. I do this lastly because garlic burns, okay? So we don't want this to turn brown, so we're just going to put the garlic in here and mix that in well. Okay. And when that gets going, turn my heat up a little more.
All those flavors are blending. They're marrying.
They're marrying, okay.
As the chefs say. Smells good.
and tell them about this. So we'll be telling you how to do the sauce, the red sauce. So don't think we're gonna miss a beat.
It's not a secret.
Well, it is, you know, I've been perfecting, how long I've been doing, probably 50, 60, about 55 years I've been doing this red sauce. And what did you tell me initially? Well, it's not as good,
That's my grandmother's.
however,
So
comma.
he kept on trying. Now, it's better than my grandmother's. She's not around for me to hear that, so. But her sauce was really good. Every Sunday we would have it.
Excuse me. Let me get in. So again, we don't want to burn this. We don't want to burn the garlic. I'm going to shut.
So you're just waiting for the onions to get translucent there? Is that what you're doing?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And they're getting
And the
there.
shallots, onions.
So now what do we have here?
We have a 1/4 of a 6-ounce can. So
Tomato
what's
paste.
it? That's our tomato paste, of course. Right, I'm going to mix this in. This will thicken this up a little bit.
While Bob is thickening, trying to get the tomato paste blended in with the onions and the olive oil and so forth, we've received a Christmas present from our neighbor across the street, and it's entitled the Mafia Cookbook. And
Many a year ago.
Many a year ago, and very interesting cookbook if you're into cooking and want to hear about mafia stories along with it. But very easy. We use the San Marzano peeled tomatoes, and first we put a little olive oil in the pan, about 3 or 4 cloves of garlic. We use 4 28-ounce cans of the San Marzano peeled tomatoes, and I use a potato masher to mash them up. Bring that to a simmer,
You can,
and there's the cookbook.
you know,
And
what I'm thinking,
let me finish the ingredients so everybody has an idea. So we add a little salt, we add a little pepper, dry mustard, ground mustard, and Bob does his magic with a little bit of sugar, red wine. He knows the amounts to put in there, which is not in the cookbook. That's what Bob does, and he lets that simmer a while. And if you really want
Excuse me?
extra flavor, you can put in some short ribs for the beef, or some veal in the meat, and let that simmer a good 10 to 12 hours. Is that what you do?
oh, well, if I have pork bones in
Pork
there,
bones.
I'd say 8 hours. I've gone 12 hours, but I
But
don't
you can
normally
see,
do that.
this is the tomato sauce simmering on the stove.
What I want to show them,
This kitchen smells delicious, folks, I have to tell you.
I have this afterthought, so.
Okay,
it's
you're
already-
over there by the book, you have to adjust your heat, hon.
Okay, I'm going to go into the, watch yourself.
Now,
Now, we
this,
talked about the Espagnole sauce going from a step 1 mirepoix stock into the Espagnole sauce. So I'm going to be putting 2 of these cubes that I had in that should.
we froze
Very
the sauce in ice cube trays for
And
convenience.
you'll have it, but depending on what you make, you'll have it for 6 months, a year. Makes life so much easier because you're doing all this ahead of time. Let's put this on low, get all this mixed here. Mirepoix, step 1 into your brown sauce. Donna has at this point put a message on there. Okay. Okay, let that melt down. And when that melts down, I'm going to add the 3 chopped meats, the beef, veal, and the pork. It's going to take a while. Okay, so let's see how our meat browned up very nicely. The pork, the veal, the beef, the onions, oil, butter, garlic. Okay, very nice. And what I'm going to do, let's take a look at our sauce here, Donna. Let me give this a stir here. See how does it look, how nice that's simmering. So, figure about 8 hours on this. Now, what's going to happen when this pot cools down, you're going to have a little bit of fat raises to the top. I take that off, okay? Don't need that in our system. You can see it's got a little bit here, okay? So the sauce is coming all nicely. About 8 hours on that, 20 to 30 minutes on our meat here. And then I'm going to put the meat into the pot and let that soak up and cool down, and then put it in the refrigerator. But as a matter of fact, tonight, Don and I are going to have some kind of dish with it. Maybe a bolognese, maybe just a spaghetti. We'll see. So, let me cover some things. Don is going to put the Mirepoix / brown sauce link in the description. And just quickly, because we're not doing that here, we've already done it, you'll see we put in onions, carrots, and celery initially for the Mirepoix stock, along with some veal shank bones, neck bones, beef, let's see, okay, I wanted to show this Mafia cookbook again, how we've elaborated over the years. So this started out as, you may not be able to see this on camera, pasta marinara, but what I've done, I've turned the pasta marinara into a meat sauce. How do I do that? Adding meat, pork, beef, veal, bones. And then if you have some serious bones, you go not 8 but 12 hours until all the meat falls off those bones. You won't believe your
You did
sauce.
a lot of editing to that recipe, didn't you?
Over the years, I've added my own. So, not plagiarism. I give credit to Joseph, Joe Dogs, Inzanuzzi. Iannuzzi, okay.
The Mafia cookbook.
Oh, it's very clever too, because he breaks up the recipe with some anecdotes. And it's very, very clever. In a sense, I'll be doing my serial killer thriller book, book number 10, building in recipes also. So what I might do at the end, I'll put the serious recipes, less human bones that the serial killer might have used,
gosh.
you know, earlobes and things like that. So stay tuned. Tomorrow or the next day we'll do the bechamel. The bechamel we want to do and then serve it. That's why we did step 1 first with the meat sauce, red sauce.
For our classic lasagna.
For our classic lasagna.
To be continued.
French / Italian. Okay, where we left off yesterday, Don, if you'll come over here and take a look in the pot, what I did was there was a little bit of fat that rose to the top, so I skimmed it off with a thin bladed spatula and just went along underneath. If you use a spoon, you wind up picking up the sauce and you're there forever. So working with a nice thin spatula will do the trick. Okay, so that's our sauce. Put that aside. And well, let's take a look at the ingredients that we're going to need for the bechamel sauce and putting together the lasagna. Okay, so Donna, if you'll just take a look over here. If you remember yesterday, we had quite a block. This is 0.690 of a pound, and we used quite a bit of it. I'm going to pull this out here. Donna grated this up. I gave her the tough job. This is a very, very hard cheese, so I put her to work.
But
Okay, and we grated it on
yeah,
this guy over
the
here.
tool is good though.
If you grate it with something like this, you will be there forever. This will be good for our nutmeg. We'll be dealing with that. But these are the ingredients that you'll need for the bechamel and putting together a lasagna. And of course, first thing we have is a pound of lasagna. Okay? What, huh?
Lasagna noodles, right? Barilla, you picked Barilla?
Well, it was on the shelf.
Okay.
We're out of a lot of this stuff, but if you get a name brand, you're fine. And then we have flour, and I have this measured out. And the magic is 7 tablespoons of flour, and that's what's in that cup there, and 8 tablespoons of butter. And if you'll remember from yesterday, okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So a stick represents 8 tablespoons. So I'm going to take our butter over here, and I'm going to put it in here. I'm going to start melting that. And let me just talk about the noodles for a little bit. No, just let that go, hon. I'm going to come back in a moment. You'll notice that what I did was, well, I'm telling you, what I did was I took some cooking spray, Pam in this case, and I sprayed the bottom of this tray so that the noodles, the lasagna, would not stick to the pan. And then I layered each with a sheet of plastic, but I'll get back to that in a moment. The important thing is that once your noodles are done, your lasagna noodles, after 8 minutes, the packaging called for, I let this cool down for just a moment, brought it over to the sink and ran cold water, took the noodles out and just put them down here so they are not going to stick. All right, so some of our ingredients, I mentioned the flour. We have salt and pepper, peppercorns ground very coarsely, sea salt, and instead of the traditional mozzarella, we're using the burrata, which is a creamy mozzarella. We talked about that yesterday. We're going to use a little bit of nutmeg, whole nutmeg. We're going to use this to shave it down.
And nutmeg is for the bechamel, right?
I'm sorry?
The nutmeg is for the bechamel?
The nutmeg is for the bechamel. I'm just showing them all the ingredients that we're going to be using.
And we have spinach.
And we have spinach, okay?
Okay.
Let's see, so we have our butter. Okay, so we've melted a stick of butter. And the important thing is butter, keep in mind that butter burns, you know that. So we don't want to do that. I'm going to add a little bit of flour at a time. And we're going to whisk this. Use this little guy here to start. And the important thing is to get all the lumps out. No lumps. You don't want to have this lumpy in your lasagna. Now if I need a little bit of help, okay, we have some warm milk going, and I would add a little bit more if I have to, but I don't really have to right now, so I'm not going to concern myself with that. I'm going to concern myself with getting all the lumps out and using up the flour. Okay, so we didn't use all the milk yet, and we didn't use up all the flour, so I'm going to keep going with this. I just put some nutmeg in there, just a little bit. And I neglected to tell you how many we have. The stick of butter, that's 8 tablespoons. We have, how much flour, Donna, did we put in there?
7 tablespoons.
Level tablespoons
Yes.
of flour. 3½ cups of milk. You want to flash onto this?
Warmed up.
Warmed up. And we're going to put some salt and pepper in here now. And we'll finish up here. See, this is getting nice and pasty. And that's what we want. Again, low flame. If you remember from one of my videos, I tested which burner had the lowest flame. And we're going to put in some more flour here. See, we have a little bit more to go. Keep working this in here.
It's important to use a whisk too, because it blends
Yeah,
it
oh
nicely.
yeah. No, you really do need a whisk. So you have another size here, 2 sizes. Probably have 3 sizes, but this works very nicely. Work this in here.
No lumps.
Oh no, there are lumps. As
work 'em
soon as
in.
I put the flour in, I have lumps. But now we're gonna work on that. And why we're using so much milk, you'll see some roux made with just the ingredients, the amounts that I gave you for the butter and for the flour. And maybe a little milk, like from that antagonist that I read to you, or our serial killer. Bring that back into the mix. Okay.
It's nice
So
and
I'm going to finish this up here, and we'll be back in a second. Okay, so let's take a look at this. This is really darn near perfect. Okay, let's see how she's stick, pasty. That's perfect. That's exactly what we want.
It looks like it's coating.
Creamy.
It's coating. Very creamy.
Very, very creamy. Now, what we're going to do here is let this sit for, I'm going to move it off this hot burner. The flame is off, and I'm moving it back here to cool. I'm going to let this cool for 30 minutes.
And then we'll be ready to assemble our lasagna.
Well, let's go over here for a moment. Now, what I'm going to do is I want to show them the burrata. This is really magic too. There's a little tag on here. I always grab these and it goes all over the place, the water the juice that it's sitting in. So, okay. Let me get in here, Donna. Get a tablespoon. And here's our burrata. This is mozzarella filled with a cream. Decadent. Decadent.
It's real good.
So, let's see. We did the cheeses here, okay. And let me show them what this looks like on the inside. Hands are clean. What we'll be looking at, okay. That's what we'll be using in lieu of the regular mozzarella, okay. We'll be cutting that up. We're going to move over to these noodles. Now, I've experimented with several wraps. When you take your noodles out of the hot pot, don't put it down on any plastic or even a parchment paper. I don't think worked right.
No.
What you do is drain your
Hot
hot water, and if you have plastic pipes, you don't want to pour hot water. You know what I'm talking about? Plastic pipes under the sink. Donna, just hit that. These are all good tips, really. This will save you a lot of aggravation.
Yeah.
Okay?
So we got to run the cold water.
So you run the cold water at the same time that you're pouring
The hot water.
the hot water. Okay, so again, I had sprayed the bottom of this pan before I got started with laying the noodles down. Sprayed that with Pam so it wouldn't stick. And see how nice it stays together. So while that's cooling, I'm going to set up our pan over here that I also sprayed with a little bit of Pam so that it doesn't stick, and we will start layering our lasagna. Okay, so our bechamel sauce is done. It was sitting for 30 minutes resting, cooling off. And now we're ready to move ahead with putting the lasagna together. So if you remember, I sprayed the pan with a cooking oil here, and so it won't stick. Lasagna is nice and together. So I'm going to put a few of these across here. Overlap a little bit, methinks. See how this comes out with this pan. Okay, now this is the order that I'm going to do, and I guess we'll do one layer on camera and then I'll put the rest of this together before we put it into the oven. So let's take a look at the order that we're going to do. The first thing we're going to do on the lasagna noodles, we're going to put the meat sauce. Donna, you want to home in on each thing I'm pointing out here?
Okay.
Then we're going to, on top of that, we're going to put the bechamel sauce over here. The burrata that I started to slice up. The spinach that Donna washed and put into a bowl. Even if they say triple wash, we wash our vegetables. And then number 5, the last one, is the Parmigiano Reggiano.
The hardest cheese on the planet.
No, your Parmigiano Reggiano is really fantastic.
It's
It
good
is
cheese.
expensive, but you, in this case, you get what you pay for.
Very good cheese.
Okay, so tomato sauce first. Let me get my, oh, one other thing which I neglected to mention, and that's why I'm going back to these tongs here. When I took the noodles out, I've used in the past all kinds of things to get the pasta out, and this works the best. Grab this in the middle. After it's cool, you run your fingers down the noodle, get the excess water off, and you're good to go. So that's one thing that I wanted to mention. Okay, I'm going to take my ladle here. And what I think we're going to do is kind of shift this around here. We'll put this here, so I'll be working here. And here we go. Here we go. Now, on the instructions of boxes, the noodle boxes, the lasagna, they'll say a cup of this or that. Just put down what you need to really cover this. Okay, and I have my utensil here that I call the shovel. We call the shovel. Let us help spread this very nicely. Okay, what's the next ingredient, hun?
Now you tell me. You're the chef.
Okay, that's why it's always good to have
Just
this.
write it down.
Or you could cut. Sometimes I just cut the label off, the instructions off, and I put it up here on a box. But so we're going to add the bechamel on here, and there's a reason why I do this in a given order. I think it'll become clear once you see how this thing goes together. So let me come over here. Grab the bechamel sauce. Actually, I could use this same. It's all going into the same pot. Now, we are using this, Donna, in lieu of
Ricotta cheese.
ricotta cheese. Okay. And while I'm here and doing this, if I have any of the bechamel sauce left over, let's say that I do, it's where like a cupful or something. What you do is the next day when you're going to use it, no, I wouldn't go past the next day or two, is to put your sauce into a double boiler. You fill this up with a little bit of water, let this simmer, and this way it won't burn. This will heat up your bechamel sauce very, very nicely. So, what's the next ingredient, Donna?
Your burrata.
The burrata. Okay, so we started this. So what I'm going to do, come over here. And I'm going to put some pieces
Burrata.
throughout here. What did I say?
I said burrata. You said burrata. I say tomato. You say tomato.
Okay.
Oh,
And this stuff,
really good.
this
Yeah, it's
stuff
really good.
is awesome. Forget about it. Very, very good. That's enough for that layer. Am I being too chintzy here?
Yeah,
Maybe.
put it on.
Okay.
There you go. It'll melt in the heat anyway.
We'll do a bottom layer like that.
Next comes the spinach.
Next comes the spinach.
So we absolutely have the Italian flag.
We do.
Red, white, and green.
And like I said yesterday, I thought this was my idea, how clever I thought. But of course somebody's on top of that. And make this pretty, make this nice. Look how this is coming together. Look how this is coming together. Okay, and of course, this doesn't go to waste. We have so much more than what we need, but if we heat this up for a meal tomorrow, whatever, spinach goes down to
Good.
nothing.
Yeah, next to nothing.
Okay, and now,
The
Parmigiano
Reggiano.
And I'm gonna just sprinkle a little bit over here. Okay. And that is going to be our first layer, and we'll simply repeat this,
it.
build this up. So we'll be back in a second. Okay, so we have 4 layers, and we have one more layer to go, but we're just, come over here, Donna, and flash over to here. We have 4 pieces left, but I didn't want to cover it. I didn't want to do that last layer because I want you to see how pretty this looks. Okay? And I'm going to put those 4, I'm going to complete that box, finish up those box of noodles, the lasagna. And then I'm going to put meat sauce, just meat sauce on top of that, and Parmigiano Reggiano. And then I'm going to cover it with a non-stick foil. I'm going to bake it for 25 minutes. And then I'm going to uncover it, meaning taking the foil off, and then I'm going to bake it for 5 more minutes, and then I'm going to let it rest for 15 minutes, and then serve it. And we'll look at that finished product after it's cooked. But I left out one of the most important items, not an ingredient, but one of the most important items, and that is you don't cook without wine.
Especially Italian.
Well, I'm German Polish, so I'm stubborn and stupid. You're half Italian.
But you love Italian wine.
But I'm Italian in a sense that something's rubbed off on
Yeah,
me.
Italian by association.
Italian by association. There you go, Don. Okay, you can look and see what we have left over. I'm going to be probably freezing this, or I'll make something maybe tomorrow. This I'm not going to keep around. In a day or two, I'm going to figure out something very, very nice to do with this wonderful, wonderful sauce. Okay, so we're going to put that in the oven, and I'll explain that as we go further along here, but that's it for the moment. Okay, so we had covered the lasagna with a non-stick foil. We baked it. I didn't mention the degrees for the oven. It's 375 degrees, preheated oven for 25 minutes. You cook the lasagna for 25 minutes. Then you take it out, Donna. You uncover the foil. In this case we use non-stick foil. And we bake it back in the oven for 5 minutes. Take it out, and we're going to let it rest, or we've been letting it rest for almost 15 minutes. This should be ready at 7:03 p.m. So we'll see. And it's not going to cool off fast, trust me. Okay, so the things we've covered on our last 2 shows, we covered, the first show we covered an authentic brown sauce, starting with the Mirepoix stock, and we went to an authentic Espanol brown sauce. That was the first and second step. And now we're making kind of a quasi-French, Italian red sauce, combination of the two. and a bechamel. So we talked about the 5 mother sauces. We've actually covered, like, if you want to be very accurate, like 2.5, because the red was kind of quasi, but we love an authentic Italian. But we kind of leaned toward the French side with the bechamel in lieu of the ricotta cheese. So we'll count that as a half. We have 2 more of the mother sauces to go, and we'll be doing that down the pipe. So I want you to stay tuned for that. But before we cut into this, let's just take a look at the leftovers that we had from the ingredients that we used. I have the meat sauce. I have the spinach. I have the bechamel. I have the cheese. What kind of cheese, Donna?
Parmigiano Reggiano.
Parmigiano Reggiano. Okay? And if you'll note how well balanced this is, we've got the green, the white, and the red. And what would that signify, Donna?
Oh, as we said before, the Italian
The
flag.
Italian flag. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned and give us a like and comment if you care to, and please subscribe and hit that notification bell.
Don't forget the important, not ingredient, but the important, well, we put a little bit of red in there too, but the important item. Take care. Bye-bye now.